Hi, this is Kim from the Owensville Branch Library, and today we're going to talk about penguins. What is a penguin? Are they birds? Are they fish? Are they mammals? What do penguins like to eat? Where do they live? How do they raise their young? And when we're all finished talking about them, we'll have some fun and we'll make an origami paper penguin. So let's get started. What are penguins? You see a picture of them there swimming in the water. Are they fish? I have never seen a penguin fly, so are they really birds? Or are they mammals? Do they give birth to their young like a mammal and raise them? Let's find out. Penguins actually are birds, and we know this because they have wings, they lay eggs, and they actually do have feathers, even though their feathers are waterproof. They don't fly because their wings don't bend like other birds. Their wings are more like paddles. In fact, if you do an experiment where you take a paddle or an oar that you use to power a canoe and you hold one under each arm and you try to bend your elbows, you wouldn't be able to. You could lift them up and down and paddle with them, but you couldn't bend them back and forth. So that's why penguins can't fly. Their wings are much more suited for water. They're more like paddles, and it helps them to fly in the water. And then they use their little feet to steer and go the direction they would like to go in. There are actually 18 different species of penguins, and they all live south of an imaginary line called the equator. The equator is a line that divides the Earth into a northern hemisphere and a southern hemisphere. That's just two different parts. And all penguins live towards the south. In fact, most of them live in a place called Antarctica, and that is actually where the South Pole is located. They live on Antarctica, as you see there in our map, or they live on some of the surrounding islands. There are a few penguins that do live in Africa, South America, and even New Zealand and Australia. So let's find out where different penguins live. We're going to talk about a tale of two penguins here, and these are actually the two largest penguins in the penguin world. It is the king penguin and the emperor penguin. Let's talk about the second largest penguin first, and that's the king penguin. The king penguin can reach a height of 37 inches. That is a little bit bigger than a yardstick. So if you hold a yardstick up and see how tall that is, you would see how tall a king penguin is. And they weigh up to 35 pounds. Which is bigger than a bag of birdseed. The emperor penguin is the largest of all the penguins, and it can grow up to 45 inches tall, which is almost 4 feet, and weigh up to 84 pounds. So that's a pretty big penguin. Both of these penguins live on or near Antarctica. There are some funny penguins that live around Antarctica on some of the different islands, and they're called crested penguins. We call these the punk rockers of the penguin world because of their crazy hairdos. They kind of look like they're sporting mohawks. There are actually 5 different crested penguins. We have 3 here, the erect crested, the macaroni penguin, and the rockhopper. They're the 3 most popular. They live on islands around Antarctica, and they are called migratory penguins because they don't stay in one place all the time. They might live in one place for a while, and then they'll move to another place to feed and another place to raise their young. These are some penguins that you might see at your local zoo or aquarium. One of the most popular is the Gen 2 penguin, and he is also the 3rd largest penguin in the penguin world. They call him a brush-tail penguin because if you look on the back, he has a little brush, a tail that looks like it's sweeping the ground. There are other penguins that have this as well, but the Gen 2 penguin has the most pronounced little brush tail. The other one is the chinstrap penguin. I'll give you a few minutes to look at him and see if you can figure out why he's called a chinstrap penguin. If you said it was because of the mark that goes around his chin, looks like he has a hat on with a strap, you would be right. Another favorite at the zoo, and you may have seen these at our own Newport Aquarium in Kentucky, is the African penguin. They are warm weather penguins, and it's the only penguin that lives in the continent of Africa. They live down in the southernmost part of Africa. These penguins are the ones that you would see on the penguin marches or the penguin walks at the aquarium. They're also the kind that they would bring out to your school or to your library for you to see because they don't have to worry about keeping these penguins cold. Some other warm water penguins is the Magellanic penguin, which lives around the southern tip of South America, and the Galapagos penguin, called that because they live on the Galapagos Islands, which is right off the coast of South America. These penguins actually live the furthest north of all the penguins, even though they still live south of the equator. The smallest penguins in the penguin world are the Adelaide penguin and the fairy or little blue penguin. The Adelaide penguin is the smallest Antarctic penguin, and they also live the furthest south of all the penguins. Where they live, pretty much nothing else lives but them. The fairy or the little blue penguin is the smallest of all penguins, whether they live in Antarctica or not, and they weigh an average of 3 pounds, and they only get to be about 16 inches long. They actually live on the mainland in Australia, and you can see why they call it the little blue penguin, because you can see its little blue feathers, and their feathers are a little more fluffy looking than regular penguin feathers because they live on dry land a lot. What do penguins eat? Well, their favorite things to eat are small fish, such as silverfish, lanternfish, anchovies, and sardines. And this is an actual picture of an anchovy before they get like they get when you put them on your pizza. They also like small squid and crustaceans, such as shrimp and krill. All of their food comes from the water. How do penguins care for their babies? Well, we said they were birds. So first of all, they lay eggs. All baby penguins are hatched from eggs just like any other bird. They also build nests on the cliffs and sandy beaches or even in the rocky beaches to incubate their eggs or to sit on them and keep them warm until they're ready to hatch. That is, except for the emperor penguin. The emperor penguin is a little bit different. The emperor penguin stands with the egg balanced on its feet until it hatches. The mother and father penguins all take turns watching their eggs, again, except for the emperor penguin. The female actually lays the egg on the father's feet, and he is the one who holds it there until just before it's ready to hatch. Then she comes back to take over, and he can finally go get him something to eat. Once the eggs hatch, both parents continue to take care of the young chicks. Just like any other bird parents, they'll chew up food and they'll spit it down into their little beaks and keep them fed until they're able to go out and hunt on their own. This doesn't happen until the chicks actually developed their waterproof feathers. They're born with little downy feathers, and they depend on their parents up until those feathers are replaced with waterproof feathers. For some penguins, this is a matter of just weeks. For other penguins, this could take months. How do penguins care for their babies? Well, we said they were birds. So first of all, they lay eggs. All baby penguins are hatched from eggs just like any other bird. They also build nests on the cliffs and sandy beaches or even in the rocky beaches to incubate their eggs or to sit on them and keep them warm until they're ready to hatch. That is, except for the emperor penguin. The emperor penguin is a little bit different. The emperor penguin stands with the egg balanced on its feet until it hatches. The mother and father penguins all take turns watching their eggs, again, except for the emperor penguin. The female actually lays the egg on the father's feet, and he is the one who holds it there until just before it's ready to hatch. Then she comes back to take over, and he can finally go get him something to eat. Once the eggs hatch, both parents continue to take care of the young chicks. Just like any other bird parents, they'll chew up food and they'll spit it down into their little beaks and keep them fed until they're able to go out and hunt on their own. This doesn't happen until the chicks actually developed their waterproof feathers. They're born with little downy feathers, and they depend on their parents up until those feathers are replaced with waterproof feathers. For some penguins, this is a matter of just weeks. For other penguins, this could take months. There are animals that like to eat penguins, and those are called their predators. A predator is an animal that eats another animal. Penguins have to watch out for two primary predators. First is the killer whale, and killer whales actually have a varied diet, so they're not as afraid of those as they are their other predator, the leopard seals, because the only thing a leopard seal eats is penguins. So it's going to be on the hunt for all the penguins. I wonder how penguins protect themselves. Well, if you noticed in our pictures of the penguins, they are black on the top and white on the front. So when they're in the water swimming, the black part shows on the top of the water. So if a predator is looking down into the water, they don't see them very well because they blend in with the dark, deep color of the water. And if a predator is looking up at the white part of their belly, that part blends in with the brightness of the sky. So it's a kind of camouflage that they're born with. Now, if they have a predator that approaches them on land, they all group together and protect one another. Now, warm weather penguins have a little bit of different predators they have to watch out for. The African and the fairy or little blue penguins both spend a lot of time on land, so they have to worry about small mammals like the gray fox, the mongoose, and even snakes and lizards, so they have to hide from those. Now that we know all about penguins, where they live, what they are, and what they eat and who eats them, and how they protect themselves and raise their youngs, just for fun, let's take a square piece of paper and make a baby origami penguin. Now remember, your paper has to be perfectly square. It doesn't matter if you have origami paper or not. You can use computer paper. Just cut it so that it's equal on all four sides. After you've done that, then you can follow the steps that we see here, and you want to fold and unfold your paper in half both ways, like they show in step 1. Do it corner to corner and corner to corner. Now on step 2, lay your paper with the color that you would want it to be facing you and fold it up not quite halfway the way it shows so that it looks like step 3. In step 3, fold just the tip down so that it'll look like the picture in step 4. Then you want to turn your paper over and you want to fold in both sides along the dotted lines, one side on top of the other, and it'll look like step 6. And then you'll actually fold it out to look like step 7. In step 8, you're going to fold the very tip down, just like you did in 3, only it'll be the top. And then you flip it over, and when you flip it over, you are going to have a baby penguin complete with wings and a beak, and you can either glue on some googly eyes, or you can draw eyes on him to make him cute. So that is how you make an origami penguin. If you've enjoyed learning about penguins today, here are some books and websites where you can get more information. There are 3 good books here at the library. There's a lot more than that, but I featured these 3, and one is called Emperor Penguins by Laurel Hamilton. It's very good. It talks about the emperor penguin, the biggest penguin of all, and their unique way of raising their young and the way they do things. There's also a book called Penguins by Lucia Ratma, and that one's a very good one to learn about all different kinds of penguins. And then Yuval Momatuik from National Geographic did a book called Face to Face with Penguins, and that gives us a close-up look of the different kinds of penguins. There's also some great websites, one put out by National Geographic.com, pbs.org, our own CincinnatiZoo.org, and SeaWorld.org also have some sections in their website that has some really great information about penguins. So I hope you enjoyed our little visit with the penguins today. And I hope you want to learn more about them and that you'll come in and you'll check out some great books about penguins. Again, this is Kim from the Owensville Branch Library.